something was not right, and I knew it. And then as we went a bit near, I thought, this is not right at all. And then all of a sudden, boom, surrounded. AK-47s all around us.
A lot of it, you felt helpless. You'd have these huge convoys we'd be driving, and you got the bridges you drive under. These dudes would sit on top and they'd pull pins on grenades. And as soon as you drove through, they'd launch them, trying to land them inside of your turret. You're just waiting for a tink, tink, and that's it.
3 Hilux trucks drove behind us. We thought they would keep driving, but then heard them hit the brakes, back up, and then they pulled on the side of the road and they started yelling. So either we run and they shoot us and kill us, or we fight.
4 terrorists armed with assault rifles and hand grenades started marauding through the complex, intent on murdering anyone they could find. Did I feel disadvantaged? No. I felt like I was a heavyweight boxing champion going in against amateurs.
Today I sit down with everybody that we've interviewed from the Special Forces. Today's video, as always, is powered by Huel. These are Huel's meals that are just super easy to go. You do 2 scoops, bit of boiling water, wait a few minutes, and then you have a meal. I eat this every lunchtime. It's coming up to my lunchtime, so I'm getting ready to eat that. But the link is down below. They're nutritionally complete, 26 vitamins and minerals and 25 grams of protein. The link is down below. Before that, let's dive into this incredible episode with all of the elite Special Forces guys. Let's dive into it. What was your first experience at war like? Is there a long gap between that training and
It's about a 2-year cycle. I came in 2002, did my initial block of training, came through. They let us volunteer. So we had an opportunity to check into a team early and get right into a platoon and go to Iraq early. Iraq had just kicked off, so we were just trying to rush to get in Iraq. And we didn't hear much. Like, my dad was already retired out, so we didn't get to hear about all the daily fighting and what it was really like. So a lot of it was hearsay. A lot of it was just on the news. Or you talk to cadre, the new bud instructors that just came back from Iraq or Afghanistan, so they were like the new hotness. They'd walk around the compound, you just look at them. Dude, he just came back from Iraq. You know what I mean? It's like they always had this air of mystique to them. And then we got there. Checking into the team was different because I knew a lot of the guys. I know a lot of the senior guys. I'd kind of grown up with them, but I'm not connected to them. It was never a, hey, what's up? It was never like that. And they made it known. Like, some of the guys I've known my entire life. Like, gave birth, like his wife gave birth next to my mother, like really close. Never. Just kept them off to the side. And then we went to Iraq, and I felt like a fish out of water for the first couple weeks. I couldn't believe it was happening. Because I wanted it. Like, I wanted to go to Iraq so bad. I wanted to go to Afghanistan. I wanted to get into a fight. And then when you got there, I felt so immature. And not immature, like maturity-wise, but immature in life. Like, it was hard for me to wrap my head around, because you'd hear all this stuff on the news about WMDs and oil and all of this, and, you know, all this negative spin they would put on it, and none of that mattered. None of it mattered. Your political views don't matter. Your religion doesn't matter. Your race, color, creed doesn't matter. These dudes are trying to kill your ass all fucking day. And it was. And a lot of it, you felt helpless because you would just drive these routes trying to get from base to base, and you would just see this wreckage on the side of the road. It's just, there's no way anybody survived that. Not a chance. And you're just waiting. So a lot of it, you get on these roads and you'd be on a breath hold, man, as long as you could go, and you're just, I mean, we had one where you'd have these huge convoys we'd be driving, and you got the bridges you drive under, and these dudes would sit there on the other side of the bridge. So you would, you know, enter on the left side or enter on the right side, you'd come out on the left, and everybody would zigzag because these dudes would sit on top and they'd pull pins on grenades. And as soon as you drove through, they'd launch them, trying to land them inside of your turret. It's like, and there's just people up there the whole time. So there's nothing you can do. You can't just shoot them. They're not brandishing anything. You're just waiting for a tink, tink, and that's it. So every time you drive on them, you're just looking at these people, like waiting for something to lob over and just, oh God. And you'd hear explosions in the distance or up in front of you or behind you. And you're like, oh my God, when's it going to happen? And because of the quarantine and the lockdown, they had everybody on. I mean, we went weeks. You wouldn't see anybody. You know, we'd do daytime patrol. You'd see everybody out. And then as soon as the sun would set, ghost town. I mean, nobody. We went out dozens of times. I never saw anybody. Never. You're like, what is going on here? Like, is there anybody even here? And then all of a sudden, Sure as shit. You got to give them time. Now they all start to come out. It's like, oh, okay. Like this is real. These people are actually trying to kill us all. And it doesn't matter why you're here. Like you're here to try to liberate people. You're here to try to make doesn't matter. They don't care. And once you kind of get over that, you realize that it doesn't matter why you're here. You're here and you're going to stay here and you got to finish this entire job and you got to be as safe as possible. I think for me, that trip to 2005, we lost the guys in Afghanistan and that was a huge culture shock. That was probably the dose of reality that everybody needed, that it doesn't matter how fancy you are, how strong you are, how good you can shoot, how elite your team is. If you never get a chance to fight, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many kids you have. It doesn't matter how beautiful your wife is. Gone in an instant. And that reality is really what I needed. The only thing that's going to protect me is have I exhausted all my resources? Have I spent every single minute training as hard as I can? Have everybody here trained as hard as they could? And if not, why not? Do you not understand the reality? Or have you lost sight of it? And a lot of that, back in the day, we'd lose sight. I lost sight countless times. Drinking, fighting, doing stuff we shouldn't have been doing, not being a professional. It takes a couple times of really, really close calls or being jammed up in a bad situation and barely coming out of it to realign your focus. These are real bullets, man. Those are real grenades and those are real people that are trying to kill you. And if you are just not better than they are, they're going to get you. And a lot of the times, it doesn't even matter. You understand it's a timing thing. And you can have the best tactic in the world, the most trained dude in the world. And if you're looking that way, when that dude comes out of that door, doesn't matter how good you are. You'll never see him coming. A lot of it, you don't want to chalk it up to fate, but a lot of it is. A lot of it you can't control. If you spend your whole time obsessing over that, it really, to me, it weeds down your confidence. It's like, I've exhausted everything I can. And if my plane gets shot down, my plane gets shot down. There's nothing I can do about that. I can't fly the plane too. Can't do it all. But have we exhausted all our resources to take out all the variables we can? Yeah. Are we all as trained as we can be? Yeah. Am I physically fit? Yeah. Am I mentally in tune with everything around me? Yes. Can't do anything more than that. Let's go. I feel like the more and more you do it, the more confidence you build after a while, but it takes a little bit.
Just whilst we're on this point, was there a moment when you were first deployed, not knowing what to expect, and then at some point realizing like, oh shit, this is real, like this is really real? Was there a specific moment that stands out to you?
In Iraq, right off the very beginning, just the way they flew into country was one of the scariest things I've ever been a part of. I mean, they were yanking and banking, I mean, flares were going off, and it was just part of the protocol back then. But I'd never seen anything like that. And nobody in that entire group that deployed with us had ever been to Iraq. And whether they want to admit it or not, they've never seen anything like that either. It was scary as shit. I mean, we were an hour out. They're breaking open all the boxes, body armor, nods are going on. I mean, I thought we were going to land like we just dropped a landing craft on, Normandy. Like I thought we were going. And nope, backed all our trucks off. We're on a base. Okay. And it wasn't until you started to see the aftermath. Like you've been there for 24 hours and you hear about Marine Division so-and-so and this group getting blown up. And, they're always calling for O-negative blood every hour on the hour. And you're like, what's up with all the O-negative blood? And you're like, universal donor. I'm a universal donor. I'm just over there farming out blood this whole time. It's like, because everybody's getting blown up. It's like, it's just not happening to us. We're just missing it over and over and over again. It's like, are we just that good? Are we just that lucky? And back in the day, you didn't know the difference. Like, are we just so trained these guys just don't want to mess with us? And that's what a lot of guys would tell ourselves. That we just look aggressive so they're not messing with us. That's not the truth. That's not the truth at all. They don't care who you are. It's just a timing thing. They're just waiting for the next vehicle. And we're never that next vehicle. We just missed it. And then when the helo got shot down in Afghanistan, that really was a reality check that it doesn't matter. The dudes who were on that helicopter, guys who were on the ground, were so good, so trained, so experienced, and it did not matter. The pilots, you couldn't have picked better pilots on Earth. I mean, they were the best pilots that have ever flown aircraft. They just are. Still got shot out of the sky. Doesn't matter. Like when you take that away, you take out that blanket of, you show them that blanket of vulnerability. Like you're not invincible, dude. You are not. That patch, that flag you have on means shit. Nothing. It's not going to protect you. It will not. The only thing that's going to protect you is timing. Control the variables all you want to. If they shoot you out of the sky, it doesn't matter how tough you are on the way down. It's like, well, what do? Control things you can't control. Like I control my output. I control my work effort. Like, I can put as much in this as humanly possible, and I can tell you I'll go the entire way. But if they never give me the opportunity, it's like, that's really what I struggled with, is what if I never get the opportunity to fight? What if I get blown up? I wake up, both my legs are gone, both my arms are gone. Like, I'm 19 years old. What? I don't want this to happen. That was my big fear, is that I'd get crushed, I'd get blown up, I'd get killed, and I'd never have a chance. It's like, I don't want that.
As a 19-year-old, your fear was that you couldn't prove yourself, and so, like, something would happen before you could prove yourself.
Exactly. And I'd be some random new guy, some 19-year-old Navy SEAL, and flash on the screen and be gone. Like, it's not how I want to go out. It's not how I want to. Give me something. I want some experience. I do want to fight. I do want to do this for my entire career. And I think most of the guys would say that. Like, everybody wanted to deploy.
You guys know how much I love Huel. This is the best introduction into Huel, in my opinion. It's their protein bundle, which makes a great Christmas gift. Huel have just sent me one of these, and I want to show you exactly what's in it. 8 bottles of the ready to drink in every single flavor. This is my absolute favorite. You get one of their standard shakers, Huel protein, and Huel Black Edition, my absolute favorite. 40 grams of protein, 26 vitamins and minerals, and slow release carbs to give everything that you need to get on with your day. Huel are doing exclusive offers right now. So if you check out the top pinned comment and use the link in the description, you can get exclusive offers from discounts to free t-shirts, free shakers. And if you use their subscription service, you get 10% off every single order. So go to the link down below. Thank you, Huel, for supporting this video.
We're going to jump around a little bit here, so I'm going to have to, I will be coming back to this, but just on the back of that point, I think it's a good transition into Nairobi. Like, I think it's one of those stories it's a true moment in your life that's, you know, captured the minds of so many people and the hearts of so many people. And I think it'd be really good to start, I guess. I know we I just make sure I said, you're not keen on saying everything. So I want to make sure that I don't step around that. So if there's anything I say that's out of turn, you know, just let me know. But one thing that you have spoken to, and I think is such a fascinating and I think divine intervention, but is this lead up to it that felt different to you. You know, there was the man that you met on the side of the road. Prior to that, I don't know if you spoke to this before, but you also stayed extremely prepared all the time. Is that something that you felt just was happening whilst you were in Kenya, and it was a normal thing that you usually do, or did it feel like there was something, you know, pushing you in that way?
So just so in case people don't know, there was a terrorist incident in Nairobi, Kenya in 2019. 5 terrorists attacked a hotel complex. It started with a suicide detonation, and then 4 terrorists armed with assault rifles and hand grenades started marauding through the complex, intent on murdering anyone they could find. I got a phone call when that was happening, and I turned up, and then I intervened. I went in the complex, and then 18 hours after the attack started, the last terrorists were neutralized. And then after 22 hours after I turned, so 18 hours and 4 hours after that, I then left the complex. So it was the most remarkable day of my life. And you talk about that. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about meeting the stranger. And when I was living there, I had no intelligence. No one said that this was going to happen or thought this would happen. It had happened. It had happened before in the past, but it was this thing. There was nothing to lead me to think that, there's going to be an attack on a hotel.
How many months prior to the attack were you living in Kenya?
I was there about a month before, and but for some reason in my mind, I thought this could happen. There's nothing that told me that it was going to happen. There's no intelligence, but I was ready for it. When I mean ready, I was ready mentally. I was ready physically. I was always training, both like physically, shooting, keeping on top of things. And I had my equipment good to go. It wasn't a requirement, but it was, when I say good to go, it was ready. So I didn't have to, there's like having are you packed? Yeah, I'm packed. I've just got, and then you go and you say, you pack well, I've just got to grab some more. I've just got to grab my wash kit or things like that. That's like, you're not packed. Same as that. It's like, I was good to go. So I knew if the call ever came, which I I had no sense that it would, I just felt it could. And I knew I just had to grab my bag, throw it into my truck, and I wouldn't need anything else. So I was prepared for it. And thank God I was.
And then, you know, the morning of was like this miraculous story where you were given some kind of message that, again, kind of had some lead to preparation there as well.
Yeah, so that morning I'd been doing my own training and things, and then I was driving back to the city and drive onto the, call it the main, but it's still a dirt track. On this dirt track, you'd sometimes see Maasai tribesmen or workmen on the track working for the Chinese rail link. So I was shocked to see a guy in a smart beige business suit with highly polished shoes, and this African guy. So I was shocked, and then what's even stranger is that I broke all procedures, common sense, if you like, as well. As I stopped the car, put the window down, said, "Hey, buddy, do you want a lift?" So he runs over, gets in the car, saying, thank you. And start driving down. We're driving down. He says, how old? Straight away, so thank you so much. What's your name? I said, Chris. Tells me his name. He said, how old are you? I was like, I'm 43. He said, I'm 43. So when were you born? I was like, September. He goes, I was born in September. I don't know what day, but what day were you born? I was like, oh, on the 15th. He said, this is a good sign. That means you and I were both born in September 1975. And then he chuckles, goes away. He says some of the things I can't remember. Then he reaches into his pocket and pulls out this dagger. I'm completely chill about this. I have no feeling of threat or things. He pulls out this odd-shaped dagger. It's curved. It's called a Chris, but it's a curved dagger. The thing that was unusual that this had two tips. It might have been broken at the end, but it looked like I had two tips. And I jokingly say to him, you're not going to try and kill me with that. He goes, oh, no. I carry this in case I come across any demons or evil spirits on this road. It comes in handy. He chuckles to himself, puts it away. I look at him and say, hey, judging how you're dressed, I take it you're going into the city. He's like, no, please just drop me off at the first village. Remember, this is Africa. And I'm like, well, this village coming up? He's like, yes, this one. Don't go inside it. Just drop me off outside. Like, okay. Bring the truck to a stop. He's like, oh, thank you so much. He opens the door. And when his foot hits the ground, everything changes. So his foot hits the ground. His face changed. He's still the same shape, but it's a bit like if you say to someone, if you insulted someone, do you know how you'd get all serious and go like, what? And his face changes and he's like, Chris. And his voice is different. It's the same voice, but it's different. The description I use is it's quiet but loud, and it's everywhere. It's not coming from the direction of his mouth. It's coming from everywhere around me, and I can feel it in my heart vibrate. Everyone's like, Chris, may God bless you many times this day. And then like that, snaps out of it. Oh, thank you. And then closes the door, and then he runs off. And I thought that's a bit strange. But some 30 hours later, after the most remarkable day of my life, that came to mean something. And even before I'd even left the complex, I was walking out towards my pickup to get back in it, and I could hear his words. And I was like, in my heart, I was like, yeah.
Honestly, I'm getting shivers of goosebumps like that. It's so crazy. And I'm curious, can you see, looking back now, was there other moments that led you to be there at that moment in time? Like, was there other things looking back?
Yeah, everything was leading me to that point. The three incidents that I talked about earlier as a childhood, they were building blocks. I kind of use that term. They were the building blocks to be the man, to becoming Chris Craighead. And that's what I'm so thankful I was there to help. I was so thankful I was there to save people's lives. And I'm so thankful that it gives me some sort of closure on my life up until that point, that every time I take a beating, every time I give a beating, every time I didn't get a job or didn't do well or did that, it was all plotting this course where I had to be in Nairobi on that day, and everything, and whether it be career failures, whether it be trouble, whether it be anything, it was all, any relationships were all leading me to that point. And it's like thing was my training started the moment I was born for that day.
As you got that call and you know that did you know there were 700 people?
No, I didn't even know I didn't know where it was. I'd never been there before. It was just like, there's a complex attack going on at 14 Riverside Drive. That's all I knew. I didn't know so the complex, if you like, is a 7-story, 5-star hotel. It dominates the center with a 12-story, multi-story car park attached to it. Surrounding the hotel and car park are multi-story office blocks, and then surrounding the whole complex is I believe it's a 10-foot high wall with an electric fence on top. One of the key points to it is there's only a single entry and exit point into the complex for both pedestrians and vehicles. So once you're in there, you're trapped. There was a pedestrian footbridge on the other side of the complex, but we kind of discount that because the only people who had access codes to that were members of staff from the hotel. So generally, there's only one way in and out of that complex.
So you arrive on site,
again, I don't want to talk too much of the detail. A lot of this is out there, but I won't talk about what happened inside. But I turned up, and I kind of turned up, thought people were dealing with things. I could hear gunfire explosions, and then when I put some gear on, I left a lot of gear in my truck. I only put the gear on that I had that day because to look somewhat official. Went forward to see what's going on. Then I could report back to whoever this was going on, and people are dealing with it. Hear the gunfire. Looked into an office. Got directed to an office because the press were there, and they said people in the office were hiding under tables and chairs and things. And announced who I was, and then I said, "Is that Kenyan police in there? Kenyan Special Forces?" No one's here yet. No one's in there. And I heard gunfire explosions, and I was like, okay. Then I heard a woman scream. Then I heard gunfire, cut that scream off. I realized she's just been murdered. And it was like in the distance, it was like hard, but I heard that and I was like, okay, I'm going in. And then I went in by myself at that point. And then the rest is history.
The "Here I am, send me." Where does "Here I am, send me" come
from? It's from Isaiah 6:8 in the Bible. And it's, the Lord said, "Who will I send? Who will go for us?" And I said, "Here I am, send me." And it was kind of framed almost straight after. I mean, on my car keys, on the keys that I had on me through that attack, I've got a keyring that said that on there that I still carry today. And it was on my keys that day, that thing. So, but it's like a natural, who will go for us? So, "I am here, send me." Or "Here I am, send me." Depending on which Bible you read it, worded differently, but that's the concept. Who's going to go? "I'm here, send me."
The new year is approaching, and as always, Mulligan Brothers is doing its 2025 sale. So if you put the code in on the website, you can get buy one, get one free across the whole range, including the Not a Journal and the Memento Mori poster. An interactive poster that you fill in every single week, and it shows you how much life you've lived and potentially how much you've got left. Then somewhere along there is a square that will be my last square. It might have even been the square that I filled in last week, and I promise you, that fills you with the most motivation to make your life mean something and live with purpose. And the Not a Journal is a journal for just getting stuff done. I know so many of you have loved it, and that's why we've included it in the buy one, get one free with the link below. While stocks last. Once all the journals are gone, that is it, guys. As always, each year we do sell out, so make sure you get your orders in very quick. By purchasing something from the website, you're helping support us going into 2025 to be able to make even more incredible documentaries.
I'll move on from the Nairobi situation, but the one thing that I think, again, with this sort of divine intervention, in my opinion, you know, hearing the story, once you're inside, you've spoken about like flow state, and I know you can't go into details, but like, or you know, it's something that we won't mention, but there was like a flow state, and like, I'm just curious as to what was the margin for error.
The point I'd say about, just to kind of wrap the stuff, but I feel like we'll fall back into it later on with a couple of things, but is, you know, I decided to act. Doesn't matter what that situation was. Everyone knows I did it, and the details of what I did inside there will remain not told for now. But one thing I'd say is it's very easy for people to, even when people mess up, I would have done this, I would have done that. It's very easy to say that when you know the outcome, when you know how the story unfolds. I didn't know the story. I had no authority, and I went in. I could have lost my life, but if the mission had been a failure, I would have lost my career. I would have got thrown against the wall more than, you know, I would have been finished. But when I crossed that threshold to do the right thing, I didn't know how many terrorists were there. I knew there were multiple terrorists because you could hear it. I knew they had grenades because I could hear them going off. I knew they had automatic weapons because I could hear them going off, but I didn't know where they were, how many there were. The other thing I didn't know is that at that point, I didn't know who was in there. So if I'm going in and I've got to take a shot at someone, I've got a split second perhaps to make the call to pull the trigger or not. Is it a terrorist? Is it a police officer? Is it a civilian who's armed? Is it just a civilian? Could have been any of them. Or is it a journalist with a camera? I've got a split second to make that call. The terrorists, on the other hand, they have no rule of engagement. They have no plan other than just to kill people. But that said, did I feel disadvantaged? Nope. When I crossed that threshold, I felt like it was a heavyweight boxing champion going in against amateurs. I felt I had the upper hand. I was invincible. I was there. I had God on my side, and I was doing the right thing, and nothing can touch me. I am here.
Let's go with a brief snippet, because I'll definitely come back down and shoot this. But the Bosnia kidnap story, then, like, just from your perspective.
So basically, you know, the early days of Bosnia, which is typical fucking regiment thing. The Bosnia War kicks off. The regiments asked to be involved. At the time, it was NATO, UN basis. So we didn't really have a role other than observers. Go out, find out what's going on in case it escalates anymore through Europe, all that sort of stuff. So the job we had was unusual for the regiment. It was surveillance gathering to a degree, but supporting more UN and making sure that people are doing, and who's doing what, who's doing violations from being on the ground. What I would say about it was a fucking dangerous job, very dangerous, because, you know, we didn't really have any massive support. We didn't have the rest of the regiment. We were very small numbers, gathering intelligence, all that sort of stuff. And 1 minute, you know, there's 3 factions all fucking fighting each other. It was a real mess out there. You got the Croats, Serbs, and the Muslims all having goals at each other and cleansing each other's areas, all that sort of stuff. So we were finding all that sort of stuff out. Over the period of time of being there, people started to trust us because we'd go where nobody else from the UN would go. We were literally going through minefields, you know, into combat areas. I know it was crazy. We were getting shot at, we were getting blown up. Mad risk when I look back at it. But that's what we had to do, and that's what we did. It's kind of exciting, and that's what we should be doing. And that was the only way you could get ground truth, and we were. And then coming back and obviously giving all that information to the headquarters of the UN within our sectors, so they could say, right, this is ground truth, this is where the front line is, this is who's pushing forward, this is what's potentially going to happen. And that was all from us. So that's kind of the stuff we were doing. And I think we kind of got used to the troops on the ground, and they got used to seeing us, you know, because we were quite fucking ballsy, to be honest. And it was towards the end of the conflict in Bosnia where the role was going to change. You know, he was going to switch from UN to I4, which was more of an aggressive role, and basically, you know, the international force saying, "You're done with this now. We're fucking stopping it. You know, it's got to be sorted out." Just before around that time, a good friend of mine, Mick, comes out from the squadron to join me. I've already been out there 4 or 5 months, I think, or whatever it was. So I know the area pretty well. So Mick comes out to join us, and we had the ID cards, which are kind of fake ID cards at the time. I don't know whether we were given them or we made them. I don't really know. But on the ID card, my number and Mick's number only were like 1 digit out. So it was like, oh, you must have come in at the same time. I was 001, you were 002, if you know what I'm saying. There's no relevance to that till a bit later on. So we're out there, and it's getting towards the end of the war, and we've found a location, kind of historic location, where we can bring in all the factions together, all the generals from each force together to shake hands, call it a day, hand over, whatever, and end the war. That was the plan. We'd had 3 or 4 of these meetings, and they weren't going too well, because there's still a war going on. And basically what I used to do, one of my jobs with the team that we had, at the location where this meeting was it was in the middle of a battlefield. So you've got to have a picture of this. There's literally, a front line over there, they're all fighting each other. Somewhere in the middle of that, which was pretty dangerous, which actually was in a minefield, by the way, we brought in the troops, and we'd create a square with these tank-type vehicles. And then I and whoever else would go down, dangerous as shit, through the minefield to the front line, with the trenches or the bunkers where the Serbs were. And, we've come in peace, meet their general and bring them in. And we do we'd done this a number of times, and I kind of got used to it. And we got, if I'm honest, a bit blasé about it, because I knew the ground, I knew the area, all that sort of stuff. And now this new guy, Mick's come in, I'm orientating him. He's not a new guy in terms of, he's been in the regiment longer than me, new to this theatre. So I'm kind of chaperoning him, showing him what I know, got a bit blasé. And then on one particular day, it's that moment in life when you know something ain't right, the hair's on the back of the neck sketch. So we're walking down through the minefield. We brought in the Croatian guy, we brought in the Muslim general, we're going to meet the Serb. And they were always the more aggressive and professional, the real hardline people. So as we're going down there, I remember walking down the track around the mines, and I'm looking at where the bunkers are at the front position, and straight away that third-party awareness, something was not right, and I knew it, but I'd let the snowball roll, because I thought, well, I've got Mick here, I'm trying to, not show off, but I'm showing him the ropes, but I knew something weren't right. It just didn't feel right. There was not the normal amount of people on the, in fact, there was hardly anybody in the front part of the trenches, which is very unusual for a front line, of course. And as I got a bit closer, I thought, we'll go a bit nearer. And then as we went a bit nearer, I thought, this is not right at all. And then all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere, boom, surrounded. AK-47s all around us. Boom, got us, grabbed us, run us over the line. So I'd never been that side of the Serbian border before. Over the Serbian border, and into what looked like an old cottage, bungalow. And then we're kind of outside the bungalow, and they're screaming and shouting at us, kind of aggressive. Took the weapons off us. We only had pistols because we had to come with peace. We're not here to fight, that sort of thing. Took the weapons off us, took bits and pieces off us, quick, almost strip search, go our kit back, and then took us into this building. And it was one of the weirdest moments ever, because we went into this building, as I remember it, and there's a big wooden table, there's like benches around the side, and they throw us onto this bench at the back end, just slam us down, and then went to, like, if I looked at them, they're like, wouldn't speak, they kept swinging their fingers and pointing. And I remember looking at them, and it was kind of a dim lit room, and they all had massive beards. They looked like big, proper, fucking hard people, and there's about 8 or 9 of them in there, all got AKs, of course, and they just sat there, just like nodding and looking at me. Anyway, so there's me and there's Mick, and my head now is spinning through a world of emotions. I've gone from, shit, I fucked up, to, feeling stupid, because I've led us into this and I shouldn't have done, to feeling guilty, because I weren't so bothered about me. I was more concerned I've got Mick in this mess. And then I went through not cockiness, but a calmness of, hang on a minute, we're okay. And I could speak the language. I'd learnt the language. So I tried, I was like, "Ya Sambili Kakos there?" And they obviously knew and they just went, like this big monster of a man. And I was just, oh. And I could feel me going, oh, we're in the shit. And now the emotions have gone from what I've just all spoke about to, oh, fuck, we're in the shit. I don't really know where this is going. Then in my head, I'm thinking, I've got a map in my pocket. And you never mark a map, but because this was a UN thing, I had marked it. And there's nothing really, but in my head, I'm thinking, I've marked a map. They're going to fucking, think I'm a spy or whatever. I'm going to get whatever. So I'm really concerned. But for whatever reason, when the searchers, they didn't take this map. Anyway, next thing, after a period of time, I can't remember how long we're in there, we get ragged out, she fucking dragged out, thrown in the back of this old 4x4 Pajero thing, thrown into the back seat, slammed against each other. We're kind of trying to make contact and the like. They got a driver and what looked like a military police type person. He was in all black kit and he's got an AK and he's in the front seat, kneeling in the front seat with the AK in the back pointing at us. And I'm sat there and the next thing is I went to say something and he's pushed the barrel into my mouth. So I'm sat with the barrel in my mouth like this. Mick sat next to me and we're driving out and going somewhere. I don't know where we're going. Kind of at speed as well, over these bumpy tracks. And I'm thinking, that AK's in my mouth, his finger's on the trigger. But then after about a minute or two, he takes the safety catch off and cocks it. And again, weird emotions and surreal moment. I was like, what a wanker. He's on the front line. He hasn't even made his weapon ready because that's the first thing when you're on. You've got to be ready. And he was, and then I thought, hang on a minute, that's in my mouth. And I'm like, shit. And we're bouncing. He's got his finger on the trigger. And I think any minute now, this is it. And off we go, and we're going up the road. But as I've got this AK in my mouth, I'm still doing my surveillance. I'm like looking, and I can see there's tanks parked next to that. And I'm trying to in my head work out on the map where we're going. And we've never been this side of the border, but I've got an idea where we're going. We're heading towards a town called Priador. I knew that, and I was like, okay, I've got that. There's tanks over there. I'm thinking about the plan I'm going to brief when I get back instead of really what's going on. And it was kind of swaying every now and again back to, this fucking weapon's in my mouth. Then I went through a phase of, if he breaks my teeth, I'm going to fucking kill him. It was just surreal moments. Anyway, long story short, we end up getting taken to a place, and at the side of the road, coming through one village, it slowed right down, and there was a bunch of people, mainly women at the side of the road, all like waving and screaming. It was as if they knew we were coming, and they're like cheering that we're in that van. That's how it felt to me. Whether that was how it really was, I can't really remember that, but that's what I remember, because I've still got this AK in my fucking mouth. And we're off traveling for about 45 minutes maybe, and we're coming over these railway tracks. So again, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, that's a distinctive location. It's railway tracks, whatever. So when I do get a chance to get out of here and have a look at the map, I'll know where we are. Didn't really see any signs for where we were. And we came over the railway track, so we went left. And as we were going down past this compound, there's an old factory, similar to like this, in this field. The field was ploughed and muddy and dirty. And it was like a mesh fence all the way around it, old ratty rusty fence, but in the field was 2 or 3 people on their knees, bald head, like in scraggy old clothes, kneeling. And I was thinking, the fuck are they kneeling in the mud for? The penny didn't drop. They were actually prisoners of this war. Just didn't drop at all. Anyway, they took us into this compound where this building was, and the next one we're in a couple of porter cabins, like police porter cabins. And it was all kind of civil then. They never really beat us anything, but they're quite aggressive with us. And then we sat in almost, you could, like the entrance area, the reception area, if you like, on this bench, not allowed to talk. And then one at a time, we're getting dragged into this room. And there's 2 guys, one behind a desk, very stern looking, very aggressive. One guy behind the desk just staring, not saying a word, just staring me out. And then the other guy in perfect English going, who are you? You are not UN. You are Special Forces. I was like, fucking hell. Where's all this going? and interrogating basically. And then I'm trying to speak Serbo-Croat. So next thing, they're fucking going at me. And then they picked up on, and I'm thinking, where do I go with this? And I'm going, no, we're UN, I'm playing the game and trying to play the feel tired, feel worried, all that sort of stuff. And I wasn't really worried. I was just fucking still in this surreal state of mind. And then he's got the 2 ID cards. He goes, how do you know that guy there? And I goes, well, he's been working with us, but he's only been here a short while. And he goes, you're lying. I was, no, that was the truth. And he goes, your ID card, number 001002. And it was, he'd make it come in, and I was like, but then in my mind, I thought, fucking brilliant. They're picking up on all the bullshit trivia. I can play this. This will keep us going. But at the same time thinking, what the fuck are they going to do with us? What's happening here? So this goes on for a period of time, blah, blah, blah. Mick gets dragged in, and he's only in there about a minute. He's back out on him, I'm in again. and we did talk about this after. He goes, yeah, because you played the dumb fuck and we'll beast the dumb fuck. That was me. So I was in and out getting interrogated, all this sort of stuff. And we didn't give anything away at all as to what we were doing and why and all that. And then the next thing, after, I don't know how long it was, I'm going to say 6-7 hours maybe. It might have been less, it might have been more. We get fucking dragged out again, thrown in the back of the vehicle, and then driven at speed all the way back to that the checkpoint where we've been taken. Given our kit, thrown out to walk back, just done. And we're like, what the fuck was that all about? And then we end up back at the thing, and then they're like, wow, welcome back. The blokes, they were putting a plan together to come and rescue us, try and find it. But they didn't know where we were. And basically, we tried to work out why they were doing this. And I think what it wasn't long after the UN, or under the UN, they bombed the Serb position in Srebrenica, the Srebrenica incident where, they went in, cleansed, took the people out. Anyway, so then UN, they got permission to bomb the Serbs for their aggressive action. But what had happened, somehow, that incident about now the UN's bombing Serbian positions that are not in playing ball, they're pushing the boundaries. It was reported on the BBC, on the news. And when it was reported about the UN, they said, the voice you're going to hear now is a British SAS soldier calling in a jet. So then, obviously, the factions out there, the general go, these are the SAS are out here, they're the ones who are calling the jets. We still never, to this day, my guess, and I think it'd be nice to know what Mick says about this, I think what they were going to do is take us and use us as human shields and basically strap us to the gates of a compound where they've got whatever ammunitions or whatever it is. So if you bomb it, you're going to kill your own people. And that's what I think they were going to do with us. We never really got to the bottom of why they did it, but we did get released. And I know why we got released, basically because once the rest of our team that were with the delegation realised we'd gone, they went, okay, they got permission then to hold the generals. Because when I'd gone, somehow the Serb general made his own way in, went into the meeting, denied anything about us. They denied we'd been down to that checkpoint. It was a bizarre situation. And it was never really, it was just like, okay, that's happened, let's get on with it.
The job itself is really mind-blowing, to be behind, or to be in these communities and go for months and years built into those communities whilst also running operations is just so mind-blowing. Was there any close moments, or I guess there's loads of close moments, but
yeah,
is there anything that stands out that you were like, wow, we really just, got out there by the skin of our teeth?
Yeah, there's one that I believe is just totally miraculous. We were in this real testament to who Aziz is to this story. We were in a place called Batakut, Afghanistan, which for those somewhat familiar, Afghanistan is pretty close to Jalalabad, Afghanistan, and it's a high mountain forming area, and it gets really cold in the winter. And so Aziz and I were in the winter there, and our command was going to get number 6. So if you think, getting bin Laden's number 1, number 6 on the list, and so Aziz and I were there weeks ahead to set up the operation, and we were looking at a drop zone in this farming area So we're going to look at it, get some information. I was collecting information on it. And so we're looking at this area, and we parked our truck in these pine trees and walked across this field. That was a farming field, but it was in middle winter, so nothing was growing there. But I remember being like really irritated because Aziz has walking through this field and it's like slushy, like snowy mud. And I'm like probably talking crap to him, like for making me walk through this field. And we get to the end of this field, and there's a road, and this old man's like sitting on the corner. I don't know if you've ever been in a third world country. You see these people that squat all day. It's like cold outside, but you're just squatting on the side of the road, like he's just squatting there. And then he starts talking to Aziz, and a lot of times, people talk, I couldn't understand what they're saying, even though I spoke Dari, and I couldn't understand what they were saying. The dialects are so different. But I was listening, and I could tell in Aziz's reaction, it was, something was wrong. And Aziz is like, hey, brother, we have to go. And what the old man had told him was that the Taliban was just left the area, and they were driving around looking for a foreigner, which would have been me. I would have been the only foreigner in the area. So we had already been there a couple of weeks, so they knew we were running around doing stuff. And so the Taliban was there looking. And so we start walking back across this field, and immediately now I'm thankful we're in this field, because now we're in a muddy field that people can't drive through. So now I'm pretty thankful. I'm thinking of what's going to happen. And now it's a large open danger area. Before it was just a field we're walking through. Now it's what I would consider a large open danger that we have to cross to get back to our truck. And for those in military, large open danger areas, something you have to. If something happens in this danger area, like how do you get off of it? And so Aziz and I did a lot of training for stuff like this. And so we talked about I'm like, hey, if anything happens, and I don't know why we would have said it, but we just did, because normally we wouldn't even talked about anything like this, but I think it was just divine, to be honest with you. Like we knew, hey, something could happen. We need to bound off this field. Bounding's a tactic. And I had we had an AK-47 and an AKS, kind of long story, I won't get into it, but we changed rifles, and we changed magazine bags. We had like a satchel bag with magazines, and we changed rifles. And so I had the AK-47. And while we were walking about 100 yards off that road, 3 Hilux trucks drove behind us. They were so bold that and that U.S. forces wasn't in this area, that they were flying Taliban flags, which was basically like a stance of ownership, like that's their area. And so Taliban flags black with some white writing on it, and caught it on my peripheral. The 3 trucks, I think one of them had a PKM mounted on top of it. I don't know if the other, I say think because I know one of them did. I don't know if the other ones did or not. And then as they drove by, we thought they would keep driving, but then heard them hit the brakes, back up, and then they pulled on the side of the road and they started yelling. And I'm not looking back at this point. And they're yelling, and I can't understand what they're saying. As he's like, just keep walking. They're not gonna come out here. My thought was, I actually didn't even get scared at that moment, because I was thinking, they're not going to come out in this field because it's muddy, so they can't drive out. They're not going to walk through this mud. They're not just going to shoot us because they don't know who they are. This isn't downtown LA. The Taliban doesn't do random violence. They need permission from someone. They want to know who that is. If they shoot somebody, the wrong person, so they're just not going to randomly just shoot someone. And so I'm like, we just ignore them and keep walking. That's what he said, just keep walking. That's kind of how the Taliban works. There's not a lot of random, non-intentional violence or something they don't have permission for. So I'm like, they don't know who we are. We're just gonna keep walking. So we're walking, and then I heard the word Bosch, which means stop. I knew that word, and we just kept walking. And then I heard a gunshot. I don't know if I heard the gun go off first. I always think about this. I don't know if I heard the gun go off first or I heard the pop of a air cracking over your head, but I heard both. And when I heard that gunshot go, I remember thinking this just changed everything. I didn't think they were that serious. We could just walk off, but clearly they're not going to stop. So either we run and they shoot us and kill us, or we stop and turn ourselves in, let them take us, and they'll probably either, capture us and or kill us at some point, or we fight. And the only option I thought at that time was to turn and fight. And, I just felt like there was no other alternative. So I said, Aziz, we're gonna, we're still walking and talking. Aziz, I'm I'm going to turn around and shoot. And when I do, you need to move. And so I did. I just did a about face and just turned around. And when I turned around, I saw these 3 trucks. And I have a real vivid memory of this. Like there was a red Hilux truck, and I seen a guy standing. There was probably about 20 or 30 guys. But what I zoomed in on is one guy standing by the passenger door of this red Hilux truck, and he has AK-47 in his hand. And I don't know why I picked him, but as I turned, I just fired two rounds. I just kind of turned and lifted the rifle and fired two rounds center mass. It's only 100 yards, and I thought I missed him because the window busted behind him, and he stood there like for a second. So I thought I missed, and so for a moment in my mind, like I can't believe I just missed. But what had happened is he went back and hit the window, and then when he fell, like I expected like a barrage of gunfire, but I think it totally shocked them that we fought back. And so instead of them firing, which is what I expected, they actually all ran, and they ran into between the vehicles, which created a convergent point. And I didn't even aim at anybody. I just aimed at that convergent point and started emptying my magazine and yelling at Aziz, move, move, move. And Aziz started running. And the way bounding works is I'm shooting and the other person's moving. So I'm covering them, and then they stop and they start shooting, and then I move, right? That's kind of, and you go past that person. So you bound off the battlefield. And so laterally you're bounding off of it, not going backwards further down this field, but laterally going that tree line where our truck was parked. And so that's what we're doing. One of the things that when you're bounding, you're not just covering the person, but you're drawing all the fire to you. Because if you're in a gunfight, whatever your threat is, whatever's shooting at you, that's where your focus is. And so if I'm firing and Aziz is not firing, they're not looking at him moving, they're looking at me. And I'm drawing the gunfire to me. So that's like an important factor for the story, because Aziz should never shoot while moving. But on the third iteration, I'm shooting. I think it's about third iteration. I'm shooting, and Aziz stops. I catch him out of peripheral. He stops moving, and he raises his gun and shoots. And I remember thinking, like, what is he doing? He's stopping and shooting, kind of breaking the rules here, and drawing fire to him. I'm supposed to be covering him, drawing the fire to me. But what he had seen something I didn't. He saw a fighter come up with a RPG, which would have been coming towards me because I'm drawing the fire, a rocket propelled grenade launcher. And he stopped because I didn't see it in the middle of him running while I was covering him, exposed himself, drew fire to himself, and shot that guy before the rocket went off. And when that happened, and I realized what happened, I was just like, the tactics and all the cool guy stuff was over. I was just like, it was like two kids. I'm like, run, and we just ran across this field into the tree line, got in our truck, and went back to the safe. Took a different route, went back to the safe house. They couldn't come after us over this field. And when that whole thing was happening, well, I'll say this thing was miraculous. 100 people think 100 yards is far. 100 yards with, 7.62 caliber, AK-47s. I don't know. I never heard that PKM go off, by the way. So I don't know what happened there. I just heard rifle fire. But you could tell the difference between the cyclic rate on a PKM. But I don't know, like, I've been in gunfights and stuff like that where you see dirt flying up all around. I've never even seen dirt flying up around us. And I heard gunfire, like shooting back at us, but I never even seen one round hit in the mud. Maybe the mud wasn't dust because it was muddy. I never seen any dust. Neither one of us got hit. I didn't see any rounds impacting anywhere the whole time. And this all happened pretty fast, of course. But so I believe it was like, I don't know, I believe it was, we were divinely protected in that moment.
When you had your first experience at war, what was that wrestle with sort of the spiritual side, and then also, having to fulfill your duties as a soldier? Like, was it difficult? Is it something that you wrestled with, or?
If I'm honest with you, to be honest, I think, when I joined the Gurkhas, pretty much I was one thing in my mind was I was so much into the devotion, and my life was a Gurkha. My life is a soldier. There's nothing was, obstructing or distracting me. And purely, I think I was in so much joy, so much dedication. And that's what we call the, now I can reflect, what I did and the way how we did is like we say, like a lot of energy and chakra healing level. We truly believe if you are into the devotion and commitment, normally your survival and your best energy will lift up to that level, because it's pretty much you are not identify who you are, because who you are became the life and life of service. And when I was Gurkhas, there was nothing, nothing gonna distract me. There was nothing gonna, pull me down, because I was the Gurkhas. My whole life is there is no life and death, Once we have that mind of focus and dedication, devotion, it doesn't really matter, what is outcome, because you are into the moment. You are moment of service and dedication, not only for yourself or ourselves, but this is for the truly believe, your parents, the dream, the family, and also the family that gave us the reason to leave the house. The reason we left, every single soldier or the service, any kind of service, everyone in a service in a way, if you have that devotion and love and kindness, the reason we leave the house is what we left behind. It's not the reason you go there. I think that's why the country that hold the family and friends safe, the family who hold our hearts and mind, is the reason we do our service. I think, and this is, my life was that, definitely 100%. No distraction. I couldn't have any, later on, once I left the Gurkhas, then in the regiment, and long after the service, like I say, the trigger for me was the, so many incidents, but one of the great incident is when, someone giving the life for you, then it's ultimate sacrifice someone does who you are. But then it's not the act of someone else did whatever they do, with their intention and desire and dream. But the question, the impact for us is what we perceive, the way we perceive. And that is the hard to deal and hard to swallow. And my true feeling was that am I living my life, or am I living someone else's life? Is this what they call enlightenment? Is this called what the ultimate life-changing experience? And is this the moment in life junction, or either you go this way or that way? It's a lot of things. And then if you truly realize, then we are in doubt as well, for me, it's this moment when the British, SAS guy stepped up for me through the door, and he gone in front, took in my place, firefight going on, and, die in front of my hand, my own palm. Then you look at them, oh my God, and then almost change the whole scenario, what we believe, what we see, what we hear. It's not a truth, Truth is action, and, that we learn from the modern world. So many people call, you are from here, you are from there, you looks this, you looks that. But actually, when it comes to the life and death, and when it comes to the true ultimate sacrifice, who we are in the flesh body, it doesn't really matter. What color, what background, what you're thinking, it doesn't really matter. What matter is who gave the ultimate service for you to live here today, and who gave their life commitment and dedication for us to walk here safely, and for us to leave a legacy and to protect whatever entity or whatever the way we can live a better place. And then I think this is where one of these incidents changed my life, is that, whatever I'm seeing is not true. Whatever I believe in is not truth. What is true is that the, sixth sense, when we sit down, when we reflect, and I even asked, is that the reason why the Buddhists or Hindus believe in reincarnation? I am alive, but my value, the way I see the world and the way world react to me, now my reaction and response is completely different. And that's where I, start triggering, my changing the way I see and my values and my respond, to who I am. And that's probably the time I truly recall connecting to the 4 years old Krishna Thapa, doing worshipping in the Himalayas, and didn't understand the value and the reason. But then with this incident about life and death, not once, many times in a wartime, and then almost lost what is my true identity, and then go beyond the true identity with the help of the rekindling the spirituality is it's very hard as well, because in the modern world, everyone is connecting the spirituality with the religions and with the belief, but I don't think that's right way. But right way is to what need to be done, we have to do it, in a proper warrior, soldier manner, because again, the whole world is chaos. I think but yet again, no matter what, we have to live here. This is the world we created, either we liked it or not like. But in order to live the true genuinity and true humanity, we need to stand up and fight what is we believe is the truth, not only for ourselves, for the legacy, for the sake of our generation to come, to be safe. And that has to be done first. And then when we survive, when we safe, then we have to show the way. You can be better this way. Now, I think that's what we truly, understanding the ancient wisdom and understanding our own, culture, value. And, it's sad because over my, career, I left Nepal when I was 19 years old. Actually, I spent about 25-30 years in the UK, and every time I go to the church, not many people goes, and I spend actually more time in church than in temple and monastery because I'm here. The interesting thing, what I really realize is, no matter where you go for you go to the monastery, you go to temple, you go to the mosque, you go to the church, because we label through our sense, we think, oh, he's going there, he's following, she's doing this. But actually, what truly happened for us, physical body and mental body, is no one care. The interesting thing is a place, the nature, especially dedicated church, temple or mosque, you go, we sit down. We sit down and we silence. This is what need to be learned from the modern people, because we are so much into this generation of receiving and receiving 24 hours, so many ways, every way we're receiving, but we don't have a time to reflect. We don't have a time to instigate our sixth sense. By only silence, by only sitting down in certain areas, then we can reflect, not only conscious mind, but what happened is the science of ancient wisdom is, whenever we collapse our legs, because the evolution of human being physically and mentally is certain level of gravity, when we stand up, our energy source from towards survival, towards our sight and hearing, that will us to survive. Though we evolved to survive in dangerous world, but that how consciously and subconsciously parasympathetic nerve will work to survive. That means we don't do any realization. That means we don't tap into our subconscious mind, because we just go, what's there, what's not there. We constantly looking, what's this, what's that. We always spend the energy in somewhere else. The minute we are close to the earth, the minute we sit down and don't express, don't spend energy, unnecessary thing, that energy will channel and slowly reflect. This is what the sitting down does. This is what the church, monastery, or temple does. And this is reflection and activating behind our sensation. This is what we need to understand, and we can talk and share. And this is the part of true human evolution, of the thinking, of the who we are. And not only, I think we give the lot of but like I said, body comfort, AI, we call this evolution, but actually it's not, it's disaster. Of course we need the modern science, modern medicine for us to survive, but I think equally, even more, I think it is so important for us to evolve our own self, the way we think, the way we behave, not only outside and love and compassion work, but also it has to evolve how we communicate within ourselves. That evolution can only be evolve when we reflect our own thought, when we reflect our own emotion, and we don't, and then interestingly, I think we talked before, this is the time right now, in 1 year time, like we briefly talked, the sun goes, if everyone look on this pattern of the sun in 1 year, 12 months time, the summertime goes to the north and wintertime goes to the south, because winter time is winter because we are farthest away from the sun. This is the farthest time. It's coming, it's happening on the figure of 8. And this is the time to reflect our own thought. And is that thought is our own identity related, or is that thought is our thought is related to the service for ourselves, for our family, for the country, or is that thought is beyond who we are, and how can we become the true, genuine, evolved human being, so that we can pass this message and learn more to spread the word, because this is the true evolution I think we need and we are missing. I think more we are far away from our evolution as a human, so-called, then I think we are almost gonna lost the humanity, true humanity, if everything is so much focused with my own identity. I want to more, I want to need more, I want to do more, then it's actually it's a lot more self-centric. It's not more true evolved human being in a true, connecting with the nature. What is nature trying to teach us? What is the environment doing us? What is that force and energy we can be, evolved being? I think that's what we definitely need.